Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of our live class for the advanced level, SEDA College Online Live. I'm your friendly teacher, Lydia, and as usual, I want to remind you that we have all kinds of amazing other courses for you to check out at sedacollegeonline.com, and we also have a really cool podcast on Spotify, and it's called SEDA Talk. So check them out. All right, yeah, I just did finger guns. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Weird. So I'm just checking the time to see how we're doing because I want to keep us in a decent time for this course. And I want to remind you to get a pen and make sure you have a notebook or some piece of paper to write down your notes because all this stuff is really useful. And if you were with us yesterday and you have your topic sentence, you're going to be able to develop that into full paragraphs today because we're going through everything you need to know in order to do that. So make sure you have your notes available. If you didn't see yesterday's class, no problem. Just go back and watch it now. It's all there. It's all free for you, even after the live showing. So we have your back. We're supporting you. Awesome. Let's get going, everybody. Let's do this. You ready? I'm ready. All right, so how we write, how we think in the Western world, structure and function. There's this idea of structural functionalism. The structure should support the function of how things go, okay, and how things are organized. They should support each other, and it should be like a symbiotic relationship. So most of the time when we're writing a paper or a document for a academic setting, it's a 5-paragraph essay. Now, you can expand upon this structure for the 5-paragraph essay. It's very functional in terms of the fact that it doesn't have to be 5 paragraphs. So there's 3 kind of elements to the structure of the 5-paragraph essay, which the middle element, the second element, can be expanded to your needs, okay? And that's important to remember, all right? So 5-paragraph essay format is our Bible because it can be adapted to whatever we need. Expository form essay, argumentative, whatever it is that you are doing. So this is the structure we're looking at here. Usually have an introductory paragraph, introduction with your thesis statement in it. Again, it's a triangle because we're usually going general to specific. And these 3 guys here, and then we have, oh, I wish that thing would disappear. If I stop moving it, okay. So then we have the conclusion in the lower triangle, which is a right side up triangle, as opposed to the upside down triangle, which is the introduction. The conclusion's like this because you're going to start with your specifics, your main point, and then go general, okay? So it's the opposite. Woo! Triangle fun. Okay, shapes and colors. We're in school. Hope you learned that when you were 5. All right, so body paragraphs are here in green, and we call them the body paragraphs because they're the main support. So if you just had a introduction and a conclusion, it would make no sense. The body paragraphs are there to give the real physical body to your argument and give that structure. And structure is really, really important. All right, let's go on. So structure and function 1. What is the structure and function of your body paragraphs? Well, each body paragraph should explain one of your key points or main pieces of evidence to support your topic sentence. So if you're writing a paper longer than 5 paragraphs, you might have many body paragraphs, but they're all going to have a similar structure here because the function is to explain your key points. So we need to have a structure that supports the function. Each body paragraph should explain one of your key points or main pieces of evidence to support your topic sentence, as I just said. And you can do different things in your body paragraph. This is what you should be doing. You should explain. You should show examples. You should use facts. You should use statistics. You should make analogies. And you should analyze. Those are the very important things that you should do in this body paragraph. Your body paragraph is like your meat and potatoes, or your rice, or your, your main big important part of your meal. Without that, the meal is nothing. Okay? It's the support, it's the basis, it's the foundation for the building. Okay? There's nothing without the body paragraphs, and they make it all work right. Okay? Every part of the 5-paragraph essay, or every part of the paper or document that you're writing, has a specific function. But the body paragraphs are really, really, really important. If you were just walking around as a skeleton, that wouldn't work well, right? If you just had a head and you just had feet, that wouldn't work, right? So we need the middle part, the body paragraphs. Great. Structure and function 2. In the body paragraphs, in the meat and potatoes in the middle of your paper, you can use diagrams, charts, tables, models, mapping, webbing, whatever you want to do, okay? Mapping and webbing, you might have boxes or circles with connections in between, kind of like this example here. You also might have, some kind of chart. In the last lesson, I used a table or a chart where you have like different columns and then information underneath lined up under the columns. Using these kind of visual representations allows you to show the structure and function of the things that you're discussing simultaneously. And by showing how things are connected and what they do, it can really support your main points. You make clearer and more easily understood your point to the reader. Visual representations connect with some readers better than text. So by incorporating many different forms of explanation, you're more likely to get your point across. And you might say that yourself, when you're reading an article, when they have charts and they have mapping or webbing, or they have statistics in a real well-organized form, it's a lot easier for you to digest and understand and comprehend that information. Correct? Exactly. So, structure and function 3. We've got the introduction, we've got our body paragraphs, and then at the end we have our conclusion. And this needs to be solid and strong. The conclusion's at the end to leave final thoughts with the reader. The function is to summarize and review the main points, the methodology, and their connection to the topic sentence, okay? You can include your opinion in a conclusion. Sometimes that happens, even if it's the expository form, but the opinion must be presented in the third-person form. So yesterday, I said that you can use a certain pronoun to present things in the third person and remove yourself, distance yourself. What did I say? One. You're right. One, like one person. One could say, one could assume, etc. That's how you're going to make that opinion known in the end of the expository form essay in a third person and objective kind of way. Okay? It's still your opinion, but you're kind of putting it out there after all the evidence, after everything is said and done. When everything's been presented to the reader, you're kind of making that final idea. All right, developing thoughts and paragraphs is our next point. So now we understand that there's a introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. You're like, okay, I get the structure, how it's supposed to look, what I'm supposed to do, but how do I write those sentences? How do I take the idea, the point and evidence, and develop them for the reader to understand? Well, guess what, my friends? Put on your cowboy hat, because we're going to the rodeo. This is exactly what we're going to do. We know how to develop thoughts. We can do this, all right? This is not difficult. It's going to be easy. It's going to be simple if you follow this advice. Developing thoughts and paragraphs, number 1, the structure of the paragraph. So we know the structure of the essay. What's the structure of the paragraph? How do we arrange the sentences? What is the function of each sentence? Structure and function, right? Topic sentence. Just like in the introduction, you had a topic sentence. In the paragraphs that follow, you will have a topic sentence, the first sentence in the paragraph, which is introducing the topic of that paragraph. Okay, so if I'm talking about, the things that contribute to the sky being blue, and no, that's really bad because I'm not good at science. So we could say how to create the perfect work outfit. Each paragraph, one would be tops, one could be bottoms, and the last paragraph could be shoes. So in the first paragraph after the introduction, I would have to say something about tops in that topic sentence. What kind of top wear is important? In general, you would say something like a general sentence for your topic. So tops can be difficult for people to pick out because there's so many options. When walking into a store, you can see so many different types of tops for business attire, but how do you know which one fits you? And then, after that, you could go on. So again, we're talking about tops in general, and then we focus it down to which one's right for you. And then we could give specific examples of different types of tops for business, which would be appropriate for different body types or different tastes or different situations. So that's how we go general, specific in your topic sentence. It gets the reader's mind in the context of what you're discussing, so it needs to be general about that context. For example, yesterday we had the topic sentence of coronavirus, or more specifically, COVID-19 is the pandemic currently sweeping the globe. Okay, so that was the first sentence of my introduction paragraph before I ever went into my point about coronavirus or COVID-19. All right, and then developing thoughts in paragraphs 2, building support. Okay, developing the point showing evidence is really important after that topic sentence. So there's several methods for developing thoughts and showing evidence and building points in the sentences following your topic sentence. The following slides will show you examples and explanations. So we went COVID-19 is something going around the globe. And then what would we say after that? I said tops are something that there are many options or different types of tops for business attire. And then after that, I said, when you walk into the store. So I set my reader more into the context, but I put them personally in the situation too, so they could visualize, all right? So building support, building the explanation, getting the reader in the mindset, the context that you need for them to understand. Another option, developing thoughts in paragraphs, part 3. You got this, guys? Make sure you're taking notes. You might use time. Time is a great way to structure your thoughts within the paragraph or in the series of paragraphs and really get the reader to understand the flow or sequence of events that makes your point. Oh, my little keyboard isn't working. So time arrangement means chronological order. When we say chronological or chronology, it's how things happened in the correct order that they happened in, okay? So it allows us to build a strong point when we need to show how something developed over the course of time. And you might say, okay, but if I'm using chronological order, do I start with now? Do I start with the past? Do I go in the middle of everything? Well, here's 2 options. We can either go past, the furthest time in past that's relevant to the present, or the present to the furthest time in the past that is relevant to our point, and recount or retell the events that followed or led up to a situation or event happening. Okay, so there's 2 options here. See all these things here? What does that remind you of? What is that picture of? You got it. Space, the planets, space. But we're not necessarily talking space like outer space here. In developing thoughts in paragraphs number 4, we are talking about spatial arrangement. So you can arrange things in time, but you can also arrange things in space. Spatial arrangement is about physical placement of things, where they are. So spatial arrangement allows us to use the space of how things are physically arranged to structure our points or paragraphs. For example, if you were discussing a European issue, you could discuss the countries involved from north to south, east to west. I don't really know if I'm going in the right direction because everything's opposite the way you see it, but you know what I mean. You can talk about like how those countries are involved and go in an order that makes sense in the way they're physically arranged and how they're connected in that manner, okay? All right, developing thoughts in paragraphs 5. Compare and contrast. One of the greatest ways that we can analyze a point or evidence is to compare and contrast. This is an important and useful method of analyzation, which allows the reader to understand the similarities and differences. So when you compare, you're showing similarities. When you contrast, you're showing differences of two things to build support for your point, okay? You can also go general to specific or specific to general. So you could make a generalization to start your paragraph after the topic sentence, and then give specific examples, or give examples and then make a generalization, vice versa, okay? Just like compare and contrast. You can go compare, then contrast, or contrast and then compare. Whichever. A lot of freedom here. All right. Developing thoughts in paragraph 6, causation. Causation is all about like what happened, what caused that to happen, and then what happened after, the effects. This is really, really important. So if we were doing something about COVID-19, like I was talking about yesterday, this would be really important. We don't know all the facts now, so probably years from now we could do a great paper and analysis on COVID-19. But we could say something about World War II. Causation. What caused World War II? What were the effects of that initial cause? Cause and effect are useful forms of explanation because you can start with a cause and then explain the effects, or vice versa, just like the last ones. You can do the opposite. You can start with the effects and then go back to the cause. But you must provide specific examples or your points will not be well supported. So with something like cause and effect, you're going to use probably time chronology and spatial arrangement as well. You know, you have to explain and use those other points mixed in. All right, analogy and metaphor. Analogy is making comparison between two things, and it's a very useful writing tool. Metaphor is when something is looked at as representative or symbolic of something else. Also a useful writing tool to make a strong point. So I could say like, this little scrunchie here represents your mind. This represents your mind on drugs. I don't know, but that would be a metaphor, to use this scrunchie to represent something else, like your mind. All right, awesome. So now it's all about you guys trying, all right? You try. You take your topic sentence, and you're going to try some of these methods. So I'm going to go back. Time arrangement. Okay. So let's take a moment and say you're going to talk about a volcano exploding. Pompeii in Italy. What you would do is you would talk about it in a time way, and you could either do it past to present or present to past. Okay? Right? So I'm going to ask everybody to write a sentence using one of these methods. Either time arrangement or spatial arrangement. Decide what it is that you want to do. Find a topic. Use these methods to write a sentence or two to develop that topic sentence that you started yesterday, okay? So it's your turn. You don't have to write the whole paper right now. That's something you can build on later. I'm going to give you 5 minutes right now. And then we are going to practice. Well, you're practicing right now. And then I'm going to review it with you, okay? Whatever it is you write right now, 4 minutes. Try to develop your topic sentence that you wrote down yesterday, okay? And then we'll review together, all right? Great. I will show you soon that rest of that paragraph that I wrote, and we'll decide what kind of method we should use. What's the best method? We need music. So let's look at mine from... Oh no, can't play that music. Yesterday, right? And what did we have for the topic sentence? Okay. So the topic sentence is here. The introduction is here. The real point or thesis and topic sentence is here. So what direction could we go with this, with the methods that we've explored? Coronavirus, or more specifically COVID-19, is a pandemic currently sweeping the globe. International media, including the internet, report conflicting accounts of how or why it started and where exactly the virus came from. So international media, including the internet, report conflicting accounts of how or why it started and where exactly the virus came from. If we think about those methods we were talking about, spatial, time, chronological, general to specific, causation, compare and contrast, there's a lot we can do with that second sentence, right? Now that we've set this up, it's really showing a way to do chronology, because we're like, how or why it started, where it came from. We didn't say when, so we could do chronology if there was a when, but how and why, that's great for compare and contrast, causation, cause and effect. That's what that's all about right there. So we would really want to use that when we structured our body paragraphs. This paper will attempt to answer these questions by examining multiple scientific, government, journals, sources to expose common truths. So all those different sources could be presented spatially as well. Where do they come from in the globe? Where do the sources come from? What were they saying at different times? Chronology. Okay? What did they all say in common were similar causes and similar effects? What are the common truths here? And so there's the comparison as well, the similarities. And then contrasting show the differences of what they were all saying, right? So when you're looking at your topic sentence and where to go from there, this is where you kind of want to go. And then draw logical conclusions, which allow them to take actions to protect themselves and others. That's the purpose. That's part of the purpose of what we were saying this was about. But body paragraphs, here, the body paragraphs would be all about how, why, cause and effect, chronology, and spatial. So, yeah, I would start with chronology for my first body paragraph. Who was saying what when? Then the next paragraph, we could do some spatial. Where were they saying it? Where were they saying the most common things? And then compare and contrast in the third paragraph. Okay, everyone said this happened because that, and everyone said this didn't happen. Those were the commonalities, cause and effect. So guys, these methods are here for you to help make all this stuff clear in your mind. Structure and function. Structure and function. You always want to think about those things in your head. So, what we need to do is, over the weekend, if you have time or whenever you're ready, you can start to do this yourself. What do I always say? I always say, if you don't use it, you lose it. So all this knowledge that we just learned, all these structures, these functions, these ways and methods of doing your essay or doing an expository form paper are fantastic. And you know what? Maybe you even know some of them. Maybe you learned similar things in school, but have you done it in English? Have you written one in English? If not, it's time for you to try and do it yourself. You could write about anything. You could write about all the different options for movies and TV on the internet. Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus, which one's the best? You could do an argumentative one. You could do expository form. You could look at them all and say, which ones offer the most options? How do we know which is the best for us? Do analysis and explore all the different costs and benefits of each one and write an expository form paper about it. Why not? Those are all kinds of great things for you to explore this form of written communication. And guys, you've done amazing this week. We've explored this so much. But on Monday, we have one more step for writing, and that's this, which you can't see very well, I'm sure. But this document is like gold. We're going to talk about transition words. So if you write a paragraph and then you have to go to the next paragraph, what word do you use to start the sentence in the first topic sentence of the next paragraph? How do you transition? How do you go from there to there? It's very difficult. It's not like you're driving a car and you can just go from first to second. These transition words help you go easily from first to second to third to fourth to fifth, and then you're driving on the highway and you're going, baby. Okay? So these transition words are like gold. They're amazing. They will save your life. I'm going to give you a master list that you can use anytime you're writing anything, academic, business, whatever, and this will save your life, okay? So I can't wait to share that with you on Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us here at SEDAcollegeonline.com or on YouTube for this live class. We really appreciate you. I'm Teacher Lydia. Peace out.